My special guest today is originally from London, England, and now resides in Madison, Wisconsin in the US of A. He's the frontman of the DRL Band, which is a rock and roll band who perform original material. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Danny Langton. How you doing, sir?
Good, mate. Good to be with you.
Is it cold there in Madison?
Always. Cold in August, let alone January.
You got snow at the moment?
Oh yeah, a couple of feet.
Danny, you were born in London, and your dad was a guitar teacher and a solo artist himself. Talk us through your early life in the UK.
Yeah, mate. I grew up on the east side of London, what was kind of the old Essex, and when London expanded, it's become kind of East London now. And just a very kind of basic upbringing with two up, two down kind of household. You know the way it is in the UK. And I just remember from a very, very young age, just kids and adults coming in, traipsing through the house into the back room, and the old man would be giving lessons back there on the guitar. And then we'd go out and watch him. And so I guess it was kind of ingrained at a young age, and we'd go out and watch him and be terribly embarrassed by it all. But now looking back, I realize how cool it was what he was doing. And he still goes at it now. He's 81 and he still does his bit now.
Was it through your father you got involved in music?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I started out asking him about lessons, but he never pushed me into it. I asked him about lessons periodically, and on the guitar, that is, and he would kind of teach me some theory, and I'd get bored, senseless, and give up after about a week. And it really took me until I moved to Munich, Germany, when I was about 24 or 5. And I met a Geordie there who was an absolutely virtuoso on the guitar. And I remember he said to me, "So you want to play? Okay, well, I don't believe in theory. I believe that it's about getting someone hooked on music." He said, "What's your favourite band?" I said, "Oasis." How about the favourite song? I said, "Probably Live Forever." And he wrote down the chords, the 5 or 6 chords, whatever it is, in tabulated form, with the 6 strings and the little dots.
Yeah.
And it was that point that it got me, it gripped me, because at that point I realized that I could play a song on the guitar and sing all alone independently without any other instrumentation or anything else. And that was what finally got me, that dude, that guy from Newcastle in Munich. Pretty random.
Yeah. How come you moved to Munich?
Why did I move to Munich? For a girl, I guess, would be the best answer to that one, mate. I was in Australia I lived out there for a year. And then came back through Southeast Asia with a girl that I met in Australia who was from Scotland. And then we ended up moving to Munich, Germany, because she had a job out there.
So when did you start actually gigging, performing live?
Performing very recently, Joe. Even after that mid-20s period when I picked up the guitar, I would pick it up and I would play and I would learn a few songs, Beatles, Oasis, whatever it is. And I would put it down again. It'd be months at a time rather than weeks earlier than with my dad. But I would still drift in and out of interest for the instrument, for music. And it wasn't until it was around when I turned 40. I'm 48 now. So it was within the last 7 or 8 years. It was a classic story, and it's a typical story of my wife. She came. I was just messing around with a buddy in the basement in my old house in North Carolina, and she came down and said, "Hey, you guys sound good. You should get a gig." And we said, "Oh, yeah, I doubt it. We never thought about that." And turns out we had friends opening up a bookstore in Wake Forest, page 158, and she said you could do their opening for them. So she ended up convincing us to do their opening for them, and about probably no longer, I kid you not, no longer than 6 weeks before that, she said, "By the way, Dave and Sue don't have an ASCAP license." And at that time, I didn't have a clue what that meant. I said, "So what does that mean?" She said, "Well, you can't play any covers. It all has to be original music." And me and my buddy Chris looked at each other and we said, "Well, I mean, that's impossible. We've never written a song." Woke up the next morning and I thought, actually, I've written a little bit of poetry over the years. Why can't I write a song? And that is it. From that point, gigging, writing, I've written over 600 now in the last 8 years, and it's a weekly thing, more so sometimes. Yeah, I don't think there's any turning back now, to be honest.
So the DRL Band, when did you form the band?
Well, we moved up to North Carolina back in right in the middle of the sort of first wave of the pandemic. I guess it would be 2020, like June 2020. And so obviously I disbanded the old crew in North Carolina the previous year and just looked for musicians here, did the usual Facebook searching and Craigslist searching. And turns out that my drummer lives 2 houses over that direction to the south. And he's a drummer, obviously, got him in. And so then it was really just 2 to get, and I ended up getting a bass player and the lead guitarist, who have both kind of been in the music scene here in Madison for a while. And that was kind of when we started playing again in January of 21. So we've only been at it for a year again now in Madison, Wisconsin.
Because your old band was King Monsoon, is that right? You had another band.
That was an early iteration, mate. Yeah, and the band went through a number of iterations, which was the reason that I decided eventually. It went through so many different names. I thought, okay, a placeholder for now is just going to be the DRL Band, which is just my initials.
I was going to ask you
what
it stood for.
Just my initials, mate. And the thing is, Jack, my previous bass player, Jack, he made that logo, and that's what I'm attached to, is the logo. I wouldn't mind changing the band name at some point down the road, and we've discussed it even with these guys, but that logo's got to stay, man. I love the reference to the RAF and the mod, the colors, obviously, and the Weller reference. So yeah, that's what the name is.
So the other 3 guys are from Wisconsin?
Yeah, they're all from Madison, mate. Yeah.
Right, okay. Well, do you know what? We're going to play first track of the band. Then we're going to come back to you and talk about. But before we do, talk us through the song. The song's called "This Love." Talk us through the track first.
Oh boy, that's a dicey one, Joe. There's a lot of music, a lot of artists out there who give a lot of meaning to their songs and openly discuss them. I am definitely more in the Noel Gallagher kind of mindset, that it probably meant a number of various things to me when I write all of these songs.
Okay.
But they're almost always abstract and almost like self-counseling sessions for myself about myself, about relationships around me. But they're very, very rarely written sort of direct and deliberate,
Right.
So it's just a case of interpretation. You make of it what you will and derive what you can from it,
Okay, this is the first track we're going to play today. DRL Band,
right,
this is This Love.
She drifts into my sight in the black of night before anyone. I'm just trying to feel the love that's at my heels as I run. I run to hide away, to live for another day. The sky is closing in, Lord, chase away my sin before the day. The picture that I see paints no enemy either way. But still I hide away, too scared to live today. For this love that we found on Cupid's arrow bound, for space on hallowed ground. There's no time to wonder how so few never visit, so few ever try. She's never found this feeling real? Will you ever steal my heart away? But still I try to hide what really lives inside. For this love that we found on Cupid's arrow bound, for space on hallowed ground, there's no time to wonder how. So few ever visit, so few ever try.
I hear a little Tom Petty in that.
You're not the first person to say that, Joe. In fact, we had a rehearsal last night, and there was another song that's come up. That's 2 or 3 songs now that I've written.
Yeah,
people have said that, and it doesn't totally surprise me because I think he's phenomenal. You know, the music that he produced, and it's any of those kind of references are always a massive compliment. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I really hear Tom Petty in that. I'm not saying it's a carbon copy. I'm just saying, you know, we all have influences, especially when we're writing stuff.
You're telling me I ripped him off. That's what you're saying.
Do you write all the material yourself, and words and music?
I do, mate. Yeah, well, I write all of the lyrics, and I, put the chords to it, and the vocal melodies, and then beyond that, it really is down to the guys to arrange or create their individual parts, the bass line, the lead guitar, the drum patterns, and then we all collaborate, obviously, as a band in terms of the arrangements and harmonies and stuff like that. But yeah, I start out with it all in the sort of the words and the chords phase.
How are you to work with because when you write a song, are you really strict with the guys saying, I want this, it has to be this, or you just work as a team?
We work as a team. You'd have to ask them. But I like to think. I mean, I'm a team player. Always have been with everything in life. I like team sports. I'm better at team sports. Individuals, too much pressure. What you do, Joe, it baffles me. I mean, you do it so much that I'm sure it's just second nature to you. But it's what my dad used to do as well. I have absolutely no aspirations ever in going and sitting out there on my own with an acoustic guitar. It's still pretty scary to think of that, so I'd like to think that I was a team player, and there's certain things that, at least to my ear, they're just not happening. It's just not right. Yeah. And then I think if you feel that strongly about something, then you have to say something. But other than that, the drummer's got to be happy with the pattern he's playing, and the bass player's got to be happy with the bass line that he's playing, and the same for the lead guitarist. So that's what I like about a band. It's the collaboration, and it's everyone's song, by the time it's finished.
I do solo acoustic. I've just recently recorded a song, and I brought a band in with it. We've never played it live, just in the studio, but
right.
I just said, this isn't really my style of song to compare with my past stuff. I got Ed Conway in from Howl at the Moon, and he played piano, honky-tonk piano.
Wow.
And I just let them loose. Sean Orr from Austin on fiddle. And it's a bit folky for me, this one, right? Me on acoustic, we had a stand-up bass and drummer. But right. I'm happy with it. It came out a little bit folky for me for what I've done in the past. But,
there's pros and cons, aren't there, mate? You're on your own all the time, and that gives you a lot of flexibility, and you can stamp exactly what identity you want on that song, the sound and all of it. But then, there's the collaboration, and it goes sometimes with other minds and other talents and experiences and influences. It takes another direction, and sometimes it's a pretty cool direction that it takes, Yeah. The guys in my band, the drummer is heavily influenced by the likes of Grateful Dead, Rush. These are bands that I've not listened. I wouldn't be able to name you, 2 songs from any of them. The lead guitarist has got influences from all over. He's actually half British, so he and I are quite aligned. But then the bass player also has a pretty strong folk background as well. So it goes in all kinds of different directions, based on those influences.
Yeah, I'm curious now. The DRL Band. What's your middle initial? Because I know it's Danny Langton, but I need to ask you.
You probably guess, mate.
Robert.
The long form of Dick.
Richard. Okay. The Daniel Richard Langton Band.
Yeah, that's it, mate.
You sound posh now, like Blair.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you better cut that out. Just leave it at DRL.
Danny, I met you some years ago now here in San Antonio, Texas.
Right.
But you're in the health and fitness business too, right? And you sell equipment to the military. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I've been in the fitness business now for, what would it be? 30 years. 30 years now. Started out bodybuilding, as so many of us do, when we're 16, and went from gym to gym on the operational side of it. And then then I kind of realized that I wanted to get into the equipment side. There seemed to be more money in that, more opportunities, and more of a future. So for me, at least. And so I ended up working for Stairmaster, which did the old steppers.
Oh yeah, I remember them.
Yeah. So I worked for Stairmaster for a great guy in Germany, Doug, and worked for him over there for 3 years. Learned some German, and then when I moved over here to spend time with now my current wife, Becky, the company was going through some turmoil, and it just worked out very, very luckily for me, because my boss, I had one German boss who was Doug over there. He was an American based in Germany. And then I had one American boss who was a guy, Mike, based in the States. And that's the guy actually that I still work for now, like nearly 25 years on. And it was a case of in 2002, there was a position open. They were setting up a unit that was going to deal with the military. And I was lucky enough to get in the right place at the right time. And I'd done a decent enough job for them in Germany and got the job. And literally the rest is history. Been in the same group of guys for the last, nearly 25 years now.
Wow, really?
Yeah, pretty amazing. You don't hear many stories now where people are with the same employer for 25 years, right?
No. There you go, listeners. You heard it here first. A musician with a real job.
Dying breed.
But at least, you can concentrate on your original material because you've got your fitness job. And so with the band, you concentrate fully on your original stuff, right?
We've done a couple of funny old gigs for like real estate, open house type stuff. And they've said, could you play some covers? That's the only time I've ever played any. And ironically, is Tom Petty is always, a couple of the songs that I go for, and Oasis, Beatles, just the kind of classics. But outside of that, it's all original. That's all we do in this rehearsal space here, right here now, which is also my office. Is just original music, creating our own songs.
Okay, we're going to play a second track. Before we do, talk us through this one, Dan. This is Gravity.
Again, mate, it's a tough one. This one actually it means even less than the last one. I don't know. Honestly, I literally can't give you anything on this one. I mean, at one point, the lyrics go, gravity, make no sound. And at one point, I think all three of them in the band thought that the lyrics were gravity makes no sense. And so they were all just playing along to gravity makes no sense. So that's kind of really the mantra for this one. I'm not really sure what it's about, Joe, to be totally honest with you.
Well, let's hear it. This is Gravity, DRL Band.
We live and die by the sword. We're men of few words with plenty to say. So tell me, what can you hear? Lend me your ear, nighttime or day. Just like a helter-skelter, we'll take you up and down. No time to hide and shelter. Any place in this town. We are an army of men, again and again, in blue skies or gray. space is where you'll find us. Gravity makes no sound. No need to worry about it. You're not alone. Don't ever lose your faith in. You know, you know. Just like a helter-skelter, we'll take you up and down. No time to hide and shelter any place in this town. Just like a rocket rising, there's no coming down. Outer space is where you'll find us. Gravity makes no sound. Gravity makes no sound. Gravity makes no sound.
I like that one. I can hear Oasis definitely in that one.
Really?
Yeah, I can hear a bit of Oasis for sure there. But I think it's got a bit of a 60s feel, that.
Definitely, yeah. That was actually I spaced as well. I realised in the opening line, I realised I did have kind of an image in mind, and it was like the four of us, the band, taking the audience kind of on a journey, and the camaraderie of the band. That was a loose concept for that one. And Oasis is exactly what I had in mind. And I think that it didn't end up, we never could quite get it to sound quite as raw as maybe as I initially had planned, but I think it's turned out pretty well, you know, and it has got more of a kind of a 60s kind of vibe to it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the mix is great. The production on it. Yeah.
Dave is a really a seasoned vet. He went to Madison, UW Madison for music, so he's got a degree in music. Very experienced in production, and just a real, you know, I mean, I'm writing songs, so many songs that's not the kind of the weak point. The weak point has always been production, you know, and it's timely, as you well know. You've got to get either time in the studio and dedicate some serious hours in prep for the studio and then in the studio, or you try and cobble stuff together using DAW systems at home. And it was just, I mean, when I spoke to Dave, the fact that he had the English background and the fact that he had that experience, and he actually said to me before I hired him, he said, I'd like to play in the band. I've just got one caveat, that you let me kind of have some autonomy over the production and the arrangements of the music. And I said, of course, that's exactly what I'm looking for. So it was a kind of a match made in heaven. He does a great job. Yeah. Yeah.
But you're a big fan of Oasis, I know that. Also the Kinks and Paul Weller. But you've actually met Paul Weller, haven't you?
Yeah, I have, mate. Yeah. I met Weller in DC. I think it was 17.
Yeah.
We did a trip up there from North Carolina. He was playing the Lincoln Theatre. Now, to the American audience, I know this goes out to the UK as well, but to the American audience, you know, it's a packed theatre, and it's quite probably an ordinary sort of experience. But to the UK listener or the UK fan who knows anything about Weller, he doesn't do many venues of that size. You know, when he goes over in the UK and he sells out pretty big venues within like minutes, you know.
Yeah.
So to see him in DC over here, where of course he doesn't have the following here that he does in the UK. Honestly, most Americans haven't even heard of Weller, dating back to the Jam or the Style Council or his solo stuff. But yeah, on that day, we kind of strategically planned it. We got there early, and I was kind of masterminding the whole thing. I said, look, there's that alleyway there. There's the loading bay. They're going to be buzzing around this area. So we went and got a couple of beers. We went back. And as we went back, we saw Steve Craddock, who was one of my favorite guitarists ever. He was walking down Ocean Colour Scene.
Yeah.
And, you know, been a guitarist now with Weller for nearly 25 years, I think. He was kind of refers to Craddock as his lieutenant. So Steve's walking down. And so immediately I made a beeline for Steve and said, hey, Steve, how you doing? And just a total chilled out dude walking along with his little vape pipe and just soaking up the rays in a kind of warm Saturday afternoon in DC. And I said, so you know what I'm going to ask, you know, where's the man? Is he? And he said, oh, I'll be around a bit later. She's coming down with his wife or something. So I said, all right, great. Well, great to meet you. We took a photo with him and went back to the pub. And I said, right, we don't have long. So we're in the pub and a few of them, like a couple of the American lads, they didn't give a monkeys about Paul Weller. They, you know, it's like, yeah, we want to stay in the pub. I said, no, please, we've got to go right now. I had another British guy with me from Yorkshire, Rob. And so he was more up for leaving as well. So we said, right, let's go. And as we walked back, we got to the alley, looked left, and I said, oh, my God, that's him. And we saw him walking towards us from, like, you know, 150, 200 feet away. And so as we sort of walked towards him, I had all of that time just to totally crap myself. And it was not my best effort, mate. I tell you, I mean, I've been in sales and people have said I've got the gift of the gab for the last 30 years of my life. That was not the case when I met that man. I just absolutely crumbled.
Really?
Yeah, it was a mess. Yeah, he's just someone I've been listening to for so long. And he's just, you know what he's like in the UK. He's an icon. There's not many above Weller.
He's the mod father. He goes way back, doesn't he? Yeah.
There's the likes of Paul McCartney and honestly, like, you know, the Stones. There's the likes of those guys that are probably like an extra higher tier. But outside of that, he's right up there. He's bigger than anyone that's been in the UK for the last, you know, what is it now? I mean, God, 79 was the Jam, I think, right? 78, 79. So
it's got to be, yeah.
40 years, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Jam, and as you say, the Style Council, totally different style.
Yeah, and that's what I love about him, Joe, is that I always feel like when I listen to Weller and I get my inspiration, a lot of my inspiration from Weller's writing, I always feel like through him is filtered at least 5 different genres of music, which therefore filters through me into a pretty broad, you know, or a diverse sort of range of writing and sounds. And it's amazing the way he does that. It's every album is it's almost like every album has been written and produced by a different artist. It's so different.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, for me, Stanley Road, what an album that was. Yeah. Fantastic album.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. That might still be my favourite. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you tend to go for that British sound then with your band? Is that your aim for the band sound-wise?
I mean, yeah, absolutely, 100%. With a couple of caveats. So I was and still am heavily influenced by Nirvana and Alice in Chains and Chris Cornell. Really only started getting into those guys more recently. Although I've always liked Nirvana, but it's like anything, you know, the movement was a lot more than Nirvana. But for the average Joe like me, all you know about is Nirvana until you start digging in deeper and finding out more. And then you start uncovering some of these other bands. And so some of that is an influence, especially on some of the more recent stuff we've been working on. Yeah. Acoustically, we're trying to pull off, you know, those kind of MTV vibes. You know, like the 2 best MTV performances ever in my mind was the Nirvana performance and then the Alice in Chains performance. And I think we're doing pretty well. Some of the new stuff is sounding fantastic. But yes, outside of that, it's all I know, Joe. It's all I've ever listened to. I had it kind of rammed into my ears from a kid. It was the Beatles, it was the Kinks, it was the, you know, the Stones, and there was music always on, and it was always that. And then the 90s with Oasis, and it was kind of all over from there, you know. That's
Well, I was always a big fan of the Kinks too. I mean, I'm a big Ray Davies fan, and his solo stuff.
Yeah.
You know, he's
Genius.
still at it, yeah. Well, when you look at the songwriters of that time, a lot of them are in the shadow of Lennon and McCartney. Even George Harrison, the classics he wrote, he was still in the shadow
No doubt.
of Lennon and McCartney. But Ray Davis, fantastic songwriter.
Yeah, I think you could argue, and I think many people have, and it's right to do so, is that really everyone's in the shadow of Lennon and McCartney. I mean, and by everyone, I mean literally everyone. And obviously they got their inspiration from the American South and the black music that was going on, you know, in the 20s, 30s, 40s. So it's not that they were totally original, but they changed things. They were a game changer, and everyone who's come around in any form of kind of guitar music since, I think, is in their shadow to some degree, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So what artists do you listen to at the moment? I know you've got your favourites of Weller. Any from over here?
Not so much, Joe. No, I'm not. I don't have a very optimistic view at the moment of music and the way it's going. You know, I've got a 14, nearly 15-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
And the music she listens to, I just can't see it. I can't see anyone, even the guys now who are, you know, my daughter's age and are listening to it, can't see them remembering these songs in 5 years' time. And if you think about the impermeable nature of some of the songs that come from the 60s and the 70s, it's a different. I don't know if you know a guy. Do you know a guy by Rick Beato, Joe?
I don't know Rick Beato.
Very, very good. He's a producer, YouTuber, a teacher, very, very good musician. He just did a video on this, a YouTube clip, and he's talked about why is old music beating new music, and he goes on to talk about it for an hour. And, you know, he talked about the phenomenon of walking into places where there was an audience of 30-year-olds and younger, and they're all listening to the songs that were made before they were even born.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, some stuff's timeless. The times I've seen Tony Bennett and the amount of young people in the audience.
Yeah, and the way it is now as well with the streaming, you know, there's many artists that have talked about this as well, but it's kind of the death of music as we knew it. Because now, like, to hear new bands, you sort of needed some sort of direction because you're just flooded with millions and millions and millions of artists. There's some good sides to that, of course. Like, I'm able to produce a record and get it up on Spotify and iTunes, whereas, you know, 30 years ago it would have been a total different story. But it's you know, I don't, honestly, I'm guilty of not digging too hard, too deep, really, to find.
Because I'm the same, to be honest with you. You know, I'm not really in the loop of what's going on right now, any new stuff at all, you know.
There are good bands out there. There are young bands. But when you think about the bands that are selling out the biggest gigs now, you've got to be honest and say that every single one of them is like at least 20 years old, you know, like the Foo Fighters or, you know, even like the Arctic Monkeys in the UK, Kasabian. These guys they're all almost 20 years old, these bands now. And I think it's called Royal Blood. I think it's like a recent band, and they've made some good tunes. And there's another band that what's her name? I think it's a Scottish singer, female singer. Can't remember, but they're out there, but it's just not that easy to find. Yeah. And when you've got limited time on your hands and you think to yourself, okay, I'm going to listen to half hour of music. What are you going to do? You're going to try and start digging around, or am I just going to go, boom, Kinks playlist, or, you know, whatever it is, you know, it's easy. It's an easy trap to fall into. Yeah.
Now, I know you did some shows towards the end of last year with the band. You got any new gigs coming up this year?
We just booked, as a matter of fact, Joe, March 5th. We are back out at the local brewery out in Mount Horeb, which is where our lead guitarist is from. Right. And we're playing there on March 5th. That's going to be an interesting gig. I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to do that with just my bass player, Ryan, who is extremely talented vocalist, guitarist, bass player. And so that will just be him. He and I will do that on 2 acoustics, and he'll pick up a bass for a few songs as well. Yeah. And then we booked that place again. We just booked that place for early May. I forget the date. I think it's May 7th, Saturday, May 7th, back out at the Grumpy Troll as well. But yeah, we're starting to get sort of planning now. We've spent a lot of time in the studio, and we're looking to get some stuff on the books now for spring and the summer festival season.
How is the Wisconsin area for live music?
It's fantastic, mate. You know, it's obviously it's a seasonal state up here. You know, there's not too much or not as much going on in the cold months of December, Jan, Feb, March. But as with many places where you have those extremes, people go absolutely nuts in the summer. So it's lakes, it's beer gardens, it's live music festivals, because you're locked up for 3 months of it or 4 months of it in the winter. So It's a great scene. And as you know, the Madison area specifically has got a fantastic heritage. Nirvana, a lot of people don't know this, but Nirvana recorded some of their first Teen Spirit stuff. Some of the demos were done with Butch Vig right here down the road, 15 minutes from my house. So Madison has always had a strong affiliation for the arts, and Milwaukee as well. About an hour east of here is also a strong rock scene. And coming from North Carolina, it's kind of nice because there is more of a rock influence up here, whereas North Carolina was a little bit more folky, bluegrassy, country sort of stuff, I
was going to say, any plans to perform out of states? Or are you just sticking to where you are at the moment?
Well, I'd love to perform in the UK at some point, mate. I will have to do that at some point, by hook or by crook. But as for getting the band, mate, the band members over there, it's my cousin in Australia said that she would front the entire trip. Paulie, if you're listening, thanks for that.
We've got to do that one.
We'll do that one. Yeah, you want to open for us, Joe? Maybe she can
Let's
get
do
your
it.
plane ticket as well.
Yeah.
But
Well, maybe I can open for you in Madison.
Oh yeah, absolutely, mate. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to come down there. We maybe do a Texas tour, or you do a Wisconsin tour, or both. Okay, that'd be great.
What's the best platform for people to find out more about the band?
I mean, we're kind of everywhere now. Reluctantly, I was sort of strongly encouraged, shall we say, to start doing social media.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest with you, Joe, but I realise now that it is obviously the only way. So we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, Twitter, and then of course we've got our own website. So I mean, any of those, Bandcamp, I think we've got Bandcamp, SoundCloud, and some others as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, is the music available for download too? So you can actually download the music.
Yeah, I believe so, mate. Yeah, on Spotify. I think that's how Spotify works. I'm not a big Spotify user. I normally use iTunes, but you can download the stuff that we're releasing out on those channels.
Okay, we've got one more track to play. This is your latest release. You want to talk us through this one, Paradise?
Yeah, I mean, this does have a little bit more of it's kind of a somewhat sordid, somewhat hopeful, somewhat tip of the hat to paradise and what people's version of it might be in the afterlife. I guess that's kind of where this one was going.
Let's play this song. This is DRL Band and Paradise.
Won't you take me up and free my mind? Wake me up when I've done my time. Show me all down the line. When I'm ready to go, I'm ready to fly. Open the gates, give me stairs to climb. Take me down a road where the well-lit sign. Show me all down the line. When I'm ready to go, I'm ready to fly. To the Paradise Club near the sun. throw from Mars to the Paradise Club, to the Paradise Club, to the Paradise Club, to rest our souls. Nothing stands in our way. We know what is waiting for us, no matter what you say. To the Paradise Club, near the sun, where we are free and the game's been won. Paradise Club, beyond the stars, arm's length from Venus, stone's throw from Mars, to the Paradise Club, to the Paradise Club, to the Paradise Club, to rest our souls. Paradise Club, near the sun, where we are free and the game's been won. To the Paradise Club, beyond the stars, arm's length from Venus, stone's throw from Mars, to the Paradise Club, to the Paradise Club, to the Paradise Club, to rest our souls. Won't you take me up and free my mind? Wake me up when I've done my time.
Out the three, I like that one the best. I've got to correct myself there. I'm saying Paradise. The song's called Paradise Club. Paradise
That's
Club.
right, mate.
You know, your songs are very melodic, Danny. Really easy to listen to, and I really like the harmonies. And that's got a great melody, that one.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, that has got a good sound to it. One of the I've used like references over the years, and most of my band mates have said, "No, I'd rather not know. Let me just start out doing whatever it is I hear and the vibe that I get from the song." But Dave, the current lead guitarist, is very open to me doing what I've always wanted to do and say, "This is what I'm trying to achieve in this," and that was one of them that you kind of. You sort of want to go a little bit down the Dire Straits kind of avenue a little bit, and don't know whether we achieved it, but that's sort of some of the tones I think that Dave's going for on his guitar, and it is pretty melodic,
Yeah, that's my favourite of the three. Danny, It's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us today. Have you got any plans to come to San Antonio soon?
Yes, mate. I should be over there in the next few weeks, as a matter of fact. So I shall definitely be in to see you.
I'll look forward to catching up.
Buy you a Guinness or two or three or four.
And I'll do the same with you as well. Danny, it's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, mate. Thank you very much for having us on. Really appreciate it, Joe.
Great stuff.